The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning. Welcome to our webinar this morning. This is Jim Guinan with the Annuity Marketing area. And today I have with me Chad Weinhold from Allianz. Chad is going to talk to you today about some key factors that impact business, and he'll be presenting his topic here very shortly. So I want to thank all of you for joining us today, and I want to remind you that we are recording the webinar, so for any reason you have to leave early, or if you want to listen in on this again a little later on, it will be available shortly after it's over. So again, thanks for your attendance today. I know you have it is a short week and a busy week due to the holiday, so we will get right to it. I'm going to talk to you about some things that are going on here at our brokerage, and then I'll turn over the reins to Chad. Before I get started, Chad, can you see my screen?
I can indeed.
All right, very good. All right, well, let's get started. Today I want to talk to you about a couple ways that we help you build your business here at IAMS. Again, if you've written business with us and you've contracted, you may know about these, so I'll go through them rather quickly. We've had three main incentive programs that continue to grow and do well for us and for our producers. The first is the Referred Producer Program, Marketing Reimbursement, and then the new producer bonus, which I'll get to on the next slide. The Referred Producer Program is pretty straightforward. When you refer an agent to us and they contract, you'll get a $50 bonus check, and also you'll get $100 or more when they do business. Again, it is an override, in essence, that we pay out to you as part of our override for their ongoing business. This is an unlimited referral program, so you can refer as many agents as you'd like. Our primary focus here is annuities and life insurance. So hopefully those are people that are in that business and can write more premium. So again, our way of saying thanks to you as an ongoing bonus. And then the marketing reimbursement, of course, is our program that we put dollars into the account for you as you're writing single premium, life, target life, and index business. You can see one of the conversions there for annuity. That's the annuity conversion is for every $100,000 of premium, we put $100 into that account, and that can be used for expenses down the road. You would submit your receipts to us, and we will reimburse you 50% of the balance of that account. So again, it can continue to grow. You can build that up. You don't have to use that at any certain period of time or by the end of the year. I mentioned the new producer bonus. These are the thresholds that you want to aim for in your first 6 months of writing business with us. So once you contract, the clock starts. And again, at the end of that 6-month period, for example, if you're at the $300,000 premium level, which should be fairly attainable, of course, those are some incentives that you can look to receive. Again, our way of saying thank you for writing your business, placing it with us. We know you have a lot of choices out there in today's economy. Our back office support is a main ingredient of what makes us successful here at Insurance Agency Marketing. So we do our best to try and get to you illustrations when you need them, or get you the product information that you're looking for. So if you need help with cases, the case design assistance, of course, our life marketers do. I do in the annuity area. Bring us your cases. Let's talk about it. Let's formulate a game plan of some products or benefits or features that could assist your client. Again, those are all things that try to help you from having to scour over all the carriers and products that are out there to find what's best for them, as we have the tools and the knowledge to help you in that area. Again, our contracting process has become more streamlined through the paperless contracting, and I'll talk a little bit about our website here, but again, this kind of flows over into the website, is that you have the ability to get information any time of the day on some products if you're not able to receive it from us. And of course, our new business area helps scrub the applications and follows through to make sure the cases are getting issued for you. Our creative department is working a lot these days on the branding, helping you brand your business, tying in your business cards, your logo, the way you communicate to your clients. So if you want some ideas of how to improve that, talk to Jacob and his team. They also have been working closer with agents on website design and improvement. So again, you can see some of the services they do. Reach out to them, talk with them about what they could do to help you improve your presence, the way to prospect, and they'll of course tell you, this is what that might cost. And again, the marketing reimbursement is there available for you. So as you're writing business, you can use that to help pay for some of these costs. I mentioned our website. It's www.iamsinc.com. That's IAMSINC.com. This is a website that we try to improve all the time. I go to this almost daily for guidance with the income rider quotes. We do receive a lot of requests for income payouts. And again, in addition to that, it can do quite a bit for us in searching for products. Let's say you have an older person, maybe above 80. It may be in a state that's not have good approvals for products, and you want a product that has maybe a death benefit rider. So we can utilize that tool to really cut down on the time and find what you need. Again, the annuity portfolio or grid that we have at our desk, that is available on the website. Also, our webinar schedule, and then as it says in the bottom of the page, and I think that we need to really point this out, our sales resource library. And again, that's all accessible to you through our website. Also, term quotes. I should not leave that out. So if you need life quotes, and it will give you many, many options for life quotes for term and UL too. Okay, I want to talk with you a little briefly about our wealth management area. We've been working in the wealth management now for over 2 years through IAMS Wealth Management. If you are a producer out there looking for ways to increase your revenue, increase your business, and it's something to maybe consider. If you'd like to know more about this, what's involved in getting a Series 65, what are the costs, what kind of revenue can this generate, and what is this really all about, I would reach out to Charles and his team, Charles Hiring. And if you'd like to get more information or you just have a question about that, please respond to the poll question that I just launched here. Again, we'd be glad to get you out information, Mike, Joan, and Charles, and tell you exactly what's involved, what are some costs, and how that can grow your business in your particular situation. So they'd be glad to visit with you. Again, our RIA has grown considerably in the last 2 years. Okay, moving on. I want to thank you for your responses to that. Again, if you at any point in the webinar, if you have a question and maybe you're not able to answer it through the poll question, you could type in anything you'd like. We'll do our best to answer that for you. Okay, and then I want to talk about our Life and Annuity Academy. Again, this is a 2-day producer training. We do have one more installment of the Academy scheduled for this year. It will be October 17th through the 19th. And we are accepting registrations. We've received a few already. We'll be accepting more. And if you're an annuity or life producer and would like to get more information on what this is all about, as you can see some of the topics that are listed here, we do update this every time to be current with what is competitive, what carriers are doing, what producers are telling us is working for them. And so we try to make it a very updated timely program for you. It's a Wednesday evening, all day Thursday, and half day Friday is the sort of the general time frame of that. Again, October 17th to the 19th. So if you are out writing the business and you want to grow that business, this could be a good training for you. So I will certainly be glad to get you some information on this. The Academy, like I said, we are accepting the registrations, and I would think that we would be closing out the registration for that around the first week, the first part of October. So we have about 30 days left. And we know that's a busy time of the year for many of you, but it is the last Academy for this year. After the webinar is over, we'll get you an email with more information, a registration link, and there'll be a sample agenda in that email. All right. Well, I want to thank you for your responses to that. And lastly, then, I want to talk just briefly about our marketing summit. This is a educational and social event both, and the next one is scheduled for August of 2019. As you can see, the period of time that we look at for invites runs from January of this year through June, the end of June next year. And again, we hope to see all of you there, as many as we can. It should be a great event. Again, we tie some education into that. And of course, it's also a social event. It's at the Ritz-Carlton in Naples, Florida. And that is our 2019 Marketing Summit. So with that, I want to turn the presentation over to Chad. And there you go. So do you have the reins now?
All right. I believe I've got the reins, Jim. Thank you so much.
Hey, you're welcome.
Welcome, everybody. Thank you for taking some time this morning. We're going to jump in. We're going to talk about some factors really that can impact a client's retirement. We're going to talk about disruptors. If you've been in this business for more than about, 30 days, you had to deal with what could be some potentially major disruptions in our business, in our industry, in our environment. Go back to 2016 when DOL was really being pressed hard. And there was a lot of question marks about what that was going to look like. And then, of course, President Trump gets in instead of Hillary, and everybody in our industry automatically thought, okay, President Trump's just going to swipe this thing away with a pen, and we're done. And that really wasn't the case. It wasn't quite as easy as that. There was an article earlier this week that talked about the DOL has cost firms across the industry roughly $14 billion because so many of these firms were trying to build infrastructure to make sure that we were going to be protected, to make sure that we're going to be able to protect practices for independent practitioners like yourself. How do we make sure that this is going to be a workable solution? And then, of course, the courts earlier this year came to a decision, and they struck down the DOL rule in its entirety. But now we've got the SEC, FINRA, and NAIC that are coming along, and then they're proposing additional standards, additional regulation. So there's been a lot of things that have really dramatically impacted just in the last year and a half to 2 years. And if you think about some of the disruptors, I mean, think about this. How many of you out there had one of these little devices that you put in your car just a few years ago? In 2007, so just over 10 years ago, Garmin's revenue was a little over $3.2 billion. You would see cab drivers, you would see individuals that wanted to be able to get this little device that you could put in your car, and it would show you where to go. You didn't have to go back to those little Rand McNally naps or flip from page, K5 to L7 and try to figure out where you're going. And then you look at the right-hand side, what happened? What was the disruption? Well, everybody's phone now had a map included. I didn't have to buy the little device. I could get this as a one-piece unit on my phone, whether it was an Apple device or an Android device or whatever the case may have been. I could just plug this into my handset, and it would tell me where I was going to go. So what happened to Garmin? Well, they were able to pivot. And if you think about what they did and how they pivoted within their industry was ingenious. They still utilize the GPS type technology, but now they've got it as wearable different items. So you've got the Vivo Fit. They've got technology along the lines of cameras and all of these other things that people are utilizing on a regular basis. Think about some of the other disruptors in the industry. I saw a news item this week, Blockbuster in Bend, Oregon. It is literally the last remaining Blockbuster in the entire U.S. What happened? Blockbuster was given the opportunity to purchase Netflix at a cost of $50 million, and they said, no, I think we're good. How'd that work out? See, the industry moved, and what Netflix did is they sent you the DVDs to your house, and they gave you the opportunity to stream. And now, of course, most people get their entertainment, their TV or their video by streaming. Think about the impact that Amazon has had on brick and mortar stores. My wife is one of those. When it comes to Christmas shopping, I don't think she steps foot in a mall anymore. She goes online, she picks up some people's wish lists, or she picks up some of the stuff that she's seen, and she does a one-click, and now everything shows up at our door. These are the types of things that we've seen that have shifted just in the last couple of years. Now, let's go back to our industry. What has happened with our industry? Think about banking, mobile apps. I see more commercials for mortgage apps, the Rocket app or some of the other ones. You do your mortgage on your phone. You don't go in and sit down with a loan officer and sweat about, okay, what are they going to find? And you don't do the manual underwriting. All of that has changed. All of that has shifted. So what's my point? Well, my point is things have changed dramatically over the last several years. We now have robo-advisors that are permeating our business. I want to do it myself. I want to do it myself. So we're going to offer a platform that allows you to do online trading, online investing, minus any of the actual advice that you provide and provide so valuably. E-app and e-delivery. We've now got systems in place that provide for much more efficient and much more effective application processes, and Allianz is one of those that does so as well. Websites. Think about this. 30 years ago, if you were in practice 30 years ago, or if you were thinking of getting into the practice 30 years ago, what were some of the things that were happening? Well, the stock market dropped 22%. We saw Black Monday in 1987. The world population was only about 5 billion compared to the 6-7 billion now that we have. First criminal conviction using DNA. Think about the popular movies. What was happening in pop culture at the time? Who were some of the sports teams? Go back to 1987 and think about this. How many of your clients, how many of you were paying for internet services in 1987? How many of you were paying for cell service? Think about what the average cell bill is now for a given family of 4. You've got 4 devices, you've got 4 lines, and all of the major carriers are vying to get you as much unlimited data, unlimited whatever the case may be, but it's not out of line to spend $150 to $200 a month just on your cell service. How many of your clients back in 1987 simply had a phone that hung on the wall and they paid $15 or $20 a month to Ma Bell? What's happened in the last 30 years? See, when it comes to changes, there are multiple factors. The first one we're going to touch on is taxes. I love Will Rogers. Will Rogers once said the only difference between death and taxes is that death doesn't get worse every time Congress meets. Now, I say that tongue-in-cheek because last year we had major tax change for the first time since 1986. At least change this big, this impactful. And you say, well, Chad, yeah, they've actually dropped tax brackets. They've changed corporate tax. They've changed individual tax breaks. But when you think about this, our national debt continues to grow. This is only through 2016. We're over $19 trillion in the hole. And I got to say that spike from 1979 all the way through 2016 doesn't look like it's slowing. The politicians talk about how we can rein in our national debt, but you and I both know that that's not likely going to happen. So how do we pay this incredible national debt? The talking heads will say, well, as long as our GDP is better than, the reality is it's going to have to come from someplace. Think about this. We've lowered the tax brackets, but over how many different administrations. The tax changes that went into effect in 2018, we know many of them are not permanent. They're scheduled to expire down the road, 8 years out, 10 years out. Most of them are not going to stay. And if we get into a new administration, what's to say those aren't going to change again? Think about this. In 1983, under President Reagan, they changed the taxability of your Social Security benefits. Up until 1983, Social Security was not taxable. And then they changed it. And then in 1993, again, they changed it. So we're going from 50% taxable to up to 85% of my benefits can be taxed. So the things that are taxed, even though tax brackets have changed, can have a major impact. When you think about taxes, think about sales tax in a given state. Think about homeowners that have property taxes. Over the next 10, 20, 30 years, even if my home is paid off, do I anticipate my property taxes to stay the same or go down? Because clearly, Congress can pass laws that change the tax levels, but how many times have they done so where it's actually decreased my property tax over time? Property taxes generally are a function of the economy and how the market's doing. In 2006, 2007, 2008, even 9 and 10, when the housing market had such a major hit, we saw property taxes decrease because property values came down, not because Congress moved anything. What about inflation? We talk about inflation, and when most people that I've spoken with, most financial professionals talk about inflation, what number do they typically land on when they're having the inflation conversation? I typically hear about 3%. 2 to 4 is pretty common range. What I find interesting is the way the government actually measures inflation. Well, we're going to take out all of the staples, and we're going to use stuff like airline tickets and this in order to be able to calculate inflation. Well, that's all well and good. Our seniors, as they retire, oftentimes hit those go-go years early. But is that really a real measure of inflation for our seniors? So with our seniors, we know that inflation can have a pretty big impact. And when you look at historical rates, they've been all over the board. But again, going back to 1987, inflation is roughly about 2.65%. But look at the impact, and this even only go back to 1990. Think about this. At groceries, a dozen eggs, pound of bananas, loaf of white bread, 67% increase in a 26-year period. Regular unleaded gas, 84%. And I know that they just said that over the Labor Day weekend, gas was at the highest price it's been since 2014. Here in Minnesota, it was about $2.80 a gallon. A new house, 144% increase. And this is the one that's going to affect your clients the most. Medicare Part B premiums since 1990 have gone up 326%. And for those that are going to be starting Medicare in 2018, it's not $121.80, it's $134 and change. So inflation is real, and our clients have to deal with that once they get into retirement. So talking about the Medicare costs, let's walk through what are some of the issues with healthcare. We know that healthcare is a major concern of our clients. It's on their minds. 2017, it was one of the top topics on Capitol Hill. And it all had to do with the Affordable Care Act. Do we repeal it? Do we replace it? Do we let it supposedly implode? Do we just leave it alone and do nothing? There's still hotly debated topics on both sides of the aisle as far as where you stand. The reality is it's a $3.3 trillion issue, and the most conservative number that we could find was 5.6% as far as projected spending from 2016 to 2025 over the next decade. I've seen numbers that have projected healthcare costs growing as much as 8 or 9%. I mean, think about this. From 1999 to 2017, workers' earnings, depending upon your sourcing, staying slightly ahead of inflation. Inflation's been relatively muted according to the way the government measures it. But think about health insurance premiums. For those of you that are independent financial practitioners, this is not a surprise. You have to write a check for this, for yourself, for your employees, or you're looking to find something on the marketplace, or you have to go through a spouse because it's honestly too expensive and onerous to try and navigate. How many of your W-2 employees really know what the cost of healthcare is? If you talk to them and say, how much do you pay for healthcare premiums? About 50% of them are going to be Oh, I know what that is. It comes out of my paycheck. It's this month, much per month. The other 50% are going to say, well, it's covered out of my spouse's paycheck. I don't even know. And I would venture that that's probably generous, because most of them now, as we get into September, are going, well, annual enrollment's coming up in the next month or two, so I'll have to go back and check my company to see what I pay, because honestly, I don't pay attention to it. I set it in the fall of the year. I forget it. I know I've got a copay, or I know I've got a deductible. Most of the plans now moving to some sort of a high deductible plan. But think about your costs for a retiree. How many of them have actually gone through and calculated? There are major misperceptions, there are major myths about what the cost of healthcare is going to look like once you get into retirement. Many of them that I've run into have said, oh, healthcare is free. Once I get there, Medicare Part A is free. Correct, the premiums for Part A are free, but if you have to go into the hospital emergency room, that's not the case. Per person, we're looking at about $4,400, but when you start looking at a couple, and the fact that Medicare Part A and Part B, the base Medicare that you're defaulted into at age 65, does not include deductibles, copays, vision, dental, or hearing. What's your long-term plan for long-term care costs? See, what if we fast forward 26 years? So the last 26 years, we saw the numbers. Dozen large eggs, we saw a 67% increase. Gallon of unleaded regular gas, new house, Medicare Part B. At the same projected rates, this is what type of costs our clients are going to face. Think about this. 30 years ago, we weren't paying for the internet, cell phone service. How many of us had a cable package that we were paying? Now, for those of us in our prime, we're probably paying for the sports package, or we get the movie channel. Seniors may or may not choose to do that, or may not be able to afford to do that. What are they likely, or what are we going to be paying for in 25 or 30 years that we don't even know exists? In 1987, having the car phone was a luxury, and you only had a few people that were doing it. They talked on that big brick as they're driving around, but the average person didn't pay for a cell phone. Internet service, I'm going to say this a little tongue-in-cheek, but I don't think Al Gore had invented it by that point in time. See, if you look at these different topics, healthcare, inflation, taxes, if you think any of those three are likely going to have an impact because they're going to increase, we truly believe that you need to be looking at an Allianz index annuity as a potential solution. Let me walk through. Social Security originally enacted in 1935. For 40 years, there was no such thing as a COLA. From 35 to 75, whatever you got, you got. Now, there were some people that argued that, okay, I haven't paid into the system, but I'm still getting benefits. So I got to, reap the benefits after really not contributing. But by 1975, they said, you know what, we need to have some sort of a COLA, obviously because of the inflationary rates that we saw in the 1970s. They're off the chart. Average inflation during the 1970s was over 7%. So if you took your initial benefit and you were getting $10,000 per year, and you started getting COLAs in 1975, from 1975 to 1984, that 10-year period, your income grew from $10,000 to $20,827. Go to SSA.gov and look it up. But think about this. From 2016, looking back to 2007, during that decade, your same $10,000 income only grew to $11,807. Chad, the inflation period wasn't nearly as robust as the 1970s. I get that. We had 3 zeros during that period. Are you telling me that your seniors were okay having a zero cost of living 3 times during the last decade? If your client was born in 1950, 1951, and they hit full retirement age at 2007, is it really acceptable for them, cumulatively speaking, over that decade, to have gotten only an $1,800 pay raise? Do we really believe that inflation was so muted that my seniors could afford a 1.8% increase? See, if you think about this, I'm going to go back to here. If I had 20% more income, rather than starting at $10,000, I started at $12,000. Heck, let's do this. I'll give you 50% more income. Let's go to $15,000. But I had no COLA. And over that same period, my income was still $15,000. Was it worth it to have 50% more income starting out of the gate? I don't know. We'd have to run the numbers and see what was the cumulative amount of income paid out. But by the time you hit 1984, I'm still $5,800 behind the 8 ball. So you tell me, was it worth it getting a larger initial payment, getting that bigger first payment coming out of the gates, if I have no COLA built into my strategy? How did that work from 2007 to 2016? Here's what I wanted to be able to share with you. The foundational part of what Allianz provides from our income portfolio, 360, 222, Core Income 7, 365I, across the board, is the opportunity for an increasing income. Can I guarantee an increasing income? Actually, I can. You put money in the fixed account. The way that our income strategy works is different than any other high water mark and different than most of the increasing income strategies out there. Write this down if you have a pencil or a pen or a marker or a thing of lipstick. Last year's payment times this year's gains. 7 words. Last year's payment times this year's gains. See, what we do differently here at Allianz is we don't go back and try to get your account value back above some sort of a high water mark. We simply calculate, once you cross that line, once you say, I want to start my lifetime distribution, I want my pension income, send me a paycheck. We look at what your income is, and then we take a look at what your index credits were. If you got an index credit of 1%, you get a 1% pay raise. If you got an index credit of 5%, you get a 5% pay raise. 11%, 11% pay raise. We don't put a cap on that. You don't have to overcome the fee. You don't have to overcome the withdrawal. It's strictly a one-to-one. Whatever I get means a pay raise the following year. I don't have to make up losses. I don't have to overcome the benefit gap, which means the difference between my account value and my income value. It strictly means 99% of those clients that have been getting increasing income have received a pay raise over the last 9 years. It's great to be able to show illustrations. We want to make sure that our clients understand how the products work. But this piece that I'm sharing here actually shows not only how they work, but how frequently they work. 57%. Now understand, this is based on 13,000 contracts that are in distribution. Over 13,000 contracts in distribution. This is not a small sample size. 57% of those clients that we have that are in distribution got a pay raise every single year, and 89% of those with more than one opportunity received an increase more than once. Chad, that's a great story. That's a great story, but let's be honest. If you're telling me that I put the money in the fixed account and I'm earning 1%, I'm looking a lot like that Social Security scenario that you painted on the second page, $10,000 to $11,800. I'm really not impressed. I get that. So let me show you this. Here is the magnitude. We've already seen the frequency. Here is the magnitude. And this is not hypothetical. This is taking over 13,700 contracts. When you take a look at this, contracts that have been in for 9 years, 100% of them at least one income increase during that time frame. The average increase, cumulatively speaking, is 44.85%. On the low end, we're still talking 37%. On the high end, 52 and change. So you've got clients now, when we go back to this, that aren't dealing with $10,000 to $11,800. You're talking about clients from 2009 to 2017 that went from $10,000 to $14,485. This is the impact of what we do and why we believe so strongly in the products that we provide. I want to piggyback on something that Jim said earlier with regards to the wealth management. We have seen across the board producers that are combining the insurance with wealth management are seeing a substantial rise in the amount of assets that they're able to capture, the revenue that they're able to generate, and the solutions that they can provide their clients. We have the ability at Allianz now, we're one of about 4 carriers listed on Orion. Orion is a reporting aggregating software platform used across the industry where we now have the ability to aggregate any and all annuity policies from Allianz onto a single statement with managed money. Commission, fee-based, whatever the case may be. Talk about how this could provide easing some of the pain of your clients when it comes to how do I keep up with inflation. If you believe inflation is that low number, the 1.8%, it's not an issue. I can make that up probably getting tips or treasuries or something along the way. But if you believe that inflation is real and we're looking at more of the 2 to 4% number, where you go to make up that hedge can have a significant impact on the longevity of your client's portfolio, the sustainability of your client's portfolio, and their lifestyle. When it comes to retirement, we want to make sure that we're maintaining a lifestyle. I want to make sure that I can get the money, the movies from Netflix. I want to make sure that I can go on Amazon and purchase what I want for my kids, for my grandkids. I don't want to have to make a decision. Inflation crept up, healthcare crept up, or my taxes crept up, and now I can't do what I've been doing or what I want to be able to do. I would encourage you to reach out to Jim and the team at IAMS. They've got all of the resources available. They can certainly walk you through the different products, contracting, ways that we can complement what you're doing already. We'd love to be able to partner with you. We'd love to be able to help you out as far as supporting business that you're doing. And we'd love to make sure that your clients aren't going to be disrupted when it comes to retirement and maintaining their existing lifestyle. Jim, I'm going to let you close it out, and we'll take any questions that anybody might have.
Thank you, Chad. There are no questions at this time, but I did want to add to what you said. Certainly, for those of you, if you want to see what the Allianz products have to offer, if you need illustrations, more information, certainly we can do that for you. You mentioned a couple of the products in the preferred line. For those that are looking at income right away, the Allianz Core Income 7, I think I'm saying that right. Is it Core Income 7? Yes. Is very strong. I run a lot of rider quotes, and that product comes up a lot and one of the top payouts. So I know the impression that a lot of producers have out there is that Allianz, yeah, all the products make you wait 10 years to get income. That's not true. The 222 is
only one.
Yeah, the 222 is very strong. Has the increasing income option. So again, we'd be glad to get you the information on the products for your clients' needs. With that too, I'm going to just mention here, if you'd like to get more information on the product line or get appointed with Allianz or get appointment paperwork with Allianz, please respond to the poll question. We'd be glad to get you out what you need and get you, an illustration, talk about how that can work. Again, very strong in income today, very strong with income potential down the road. And so again, we're excited about how Allianz is performing, and we're looking to write even more business with them. So Chad, I want to thank you again. If there are any questions for you out there that you think of later on, please you can give me a call, or if there's an annuity manager that you already work with, please let me know what the questions are and the needs, and we'll get back right away to you today. But Chad, thanks for your time again. I appreciate it. Very good information. And we all hope that you have a great rest of your week. Thanks so much.